If you don't have any question, then we can move to the next slide. Okay, we move to the next slide of this. Okay, we are going to discuss the covered interest arbitrage. Well, what is the covered interest arbitrage? It's about how you capitalize the interest rate differentials between two countries. So this is based on what we call as interest rate parity. Parity means that you have a slightly the same interest rates but different level based on your inflation rates, based on your supply and demand of funds that the companies needs in those countries. So the problem is, if you have a slightly different let's say inflation rates, then you will have a slightly different interest rates. Now that's very common because interest rate is usually used to control inflation. Okay, that's the basic point. So we have what we call as interest rate arbitrage and a covered arbitrage of interest rate risk. This is how this will be done, like this. So we have example of covered interest arbitrage. It's look like this. The covered interest arbitrage will show you that day one. We call them as a day one here. Okay, this is day one. When the day one happened, we will have about exchange of $900,000, and you exchange it for 500,000 pounds sterling. So in this case, you will have about forward sale of pound sterling of 520,000 for 90 days ahead. So this is what we use as a forward rate. Okay, we call them as a forward rate. Before I move on, I would like to remind you that we will have several, let's say several tests. I already mentioned you earlier that we will have a test for assignment test, the triangular test, and then assignment, and then you will also have a quiz. I will discuss later for your quiz. Okay, this work like two ways, both ways in effect. First is from banks to investors, because you have to exchange your 800,000 to 500,000 pounds, and then from your as an investors to foreign banks. In this example, the British banks, and then in British banks you get 4% of deposit earnings, and then with this 500,000 you will get about 520,000 for 90 days. Okay, so you will have about 520,000 pounds sterling in 90 days, and then after you get the money, you convert it again into your currency, which is in this way US dollars. With this US dollars, you will get about 832,000. So with this kind of covered interest arbitrage, you will get more gain if the interest rates of the foreign currencies increase. Okay, the increase of foreign currency interest rates will have trade-off. The trade-off is the decrease of its currency, this foreign currency, to your own domestic currencies. So if you have a British currencies, British interest rates increase, means that maybe these pounds will slightly depreciate against US dollars. So in practices, it's much more complicated than what I discussed. Okay, so if you have a trade-off between interest rates, means that the interest rate of British pounds increase, then you have a gain, higher gain from your deposits, okay, from your deposits of British pounds. But in other side, we have a trade-off. The trade-off is you will have a lower price of pound sterling. The lower price of pound sterling will, if you convert it into US dollars, you will have a slightly lower price. Now, if this interest rates gain higher than the depreciation of the British pounds, then you still have a gain. But if the interest rates of British pounds is the gain of interest rates of British pounds is the same, okay, with the depreciation of pound sterling, then you will have not gain or even loss. Okay, that will become the conclusion of this covering several of the arbitrage strategy. Okay, we comparing between locational arbitrage, triangular arbitrage, and also cover interest arbitrage. In the real in life practices for real life, for real business practices, this locational arbitrage is quite very rare, so you cannot do it in, let's say, in the same countries. It's kind of difficult to do it. Okay, so okay, then for triangular arbitrage you can do it, but you should have, let's say, a very powerful tools to kind of let's automatically recognize there is an arbitrage between three currencies, there is an arbitrage between two currencies, and so on. So there's several tools to do it, but if you want to use it, you will use it like let's say you can use it using careful manners. Okay, just be careful, because this is not too safe to do it for let's say for beginners or noob, what the gamers usually say, right? So for covered interest arbitrage, it's kind of easy, and it's can be done even for noob. Why? Because you can use your money, put in a different kind of banks with a kind of interest. But the first thing first, you should understand what is the interest rate parity. You should understand how you do the interest arbitrage, okay? Because this is not let's say it's the losses is big. If you lose, then you can, let's say, it's depressing, right? So now this is the interest rate arbitrage. Before I end this class, let's discuss this first. The interest rates arbitrage, interest rate parity. The interest rates parity is discussing between forward premiums and interest rates. What is a forward premiums? Forward premiums is a spot rate that basically kind of higher between one currency to others. Let's say, like simple like this. If you see now the rupiah to dollars, the rupiah to dollars is moving from 15,000 to 16,000. Okay, means that the forward premium is increased, because in last month we only have 13,400. Then now we have almost 15,500. Now it's kind of moved to 16. Then this is a forward premium, means the price of dollars increasing much higher than the price of rupiah, kind of slightly down, like that. So in this kind of states, then you have a forward premium, the higher forward premium, because our money it's slightly riskier than US dollars. So with this kind of equation, you will have a logical thinking like this. If I have a higher forward premium, means that I have a higher home interest, or IH. See the equation. The IH, this is the home interest premium higher from the foreign interest rates. Even our interest rate is slightly lower from last weeks or last month, but we still have a higher interest rate compared to US, for example, because we are using rupiah to US. So the foreign interest rate of US dollars is decreasing, and the home interest rates of our currency is increasing, and then we will have a forward premium. Forward premiums means that our interest rate, our foreign exchange is slightly will depreciate against US dollars. Now is the very good examples of increasing forward premium of Indonesia rupiah against US dollars. Let's say this comparing arbitrage strategy. If you choose between locational, you choose between triangular arbitrage and covered interest arbitrage. The first is locational. Locational is quite rare in practical manners. Okay, you can do it, but you will have to be sure that you can make money. Now the problem is the price gap. If this is a locational arbitrage, it's quite rare and it's not very common now. Sorry, what's wrong? Oh, sorry, we have do we have a